Bomba! Welcome, familia. You are watching Bomba Live, the talk show you have waited for your entire life. I'm your host, Ray Collazo, a proud Philly Rican, live at the Philly Cam Studios, and now the host of the hottest internet talk show, Más Brutal Papá. We're here in Philadelphia. We're so excited, and of course, my co-host, the legendary freestyle diva and the co-host of Bomba Live, Betty D is with me. Betty, good day. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Bomba Live brings you the conversations and insights that will change your life. And today will be no exception. Later on in the show, Ray and I will be joined by Christina Vega of Love Shouldn't Hurt. One of my most near and dear people who I love so much. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, aren't we
Now,
all?
before we go, we want to let them know you need to subscribe to Bomba Live's YouTube page to join our celebration of excellence and star power, and get ready to
Bomba! Betty, you
Yes.
know, you must have good, I know you're a proud Bronx girl. There's
Yes.
nothing wrong with that. Much respect to my Rosado family, Park Chester, St. Raymond's Ave, Soundview, the whole thing. But
Yes.
I know you have a lot of good memories performing, and I know you have got a lot of love for Philadelphia here.
I do. Let me tell you, just coming back, it's been a while. It's been a couple of years since we've been in, and I've been in the Philadelphia area, but every time I come back, it kind of reminds me of being back home. I know some people are like, oh, it's not like the Bronx. It actually is to me, because we've spent so much time here, and it's just such a, I don't know, it's kind of like a second home almost, you know, like you have certain areas that are like that. Yeah. You have the Bronx, you have New York City, you have Chicago. We were just talking about this earlier. Philadelphia. There are just some spots that are closer to home for me than others.
Well, as they say, it's also the city that loves you back, Betty. So I know we got a lot of love for you,
City of
Betty.
love.
And it's so funny, growing up in Philadelphia, Betty's so famous, so beloved in the freestyle community, especially the Latino community. A lot of your Italian fans are in Philly. Mm-hmm. That Betty's one of those people that's so famous, you just pretend she's your relative. So like, I had this homie growing up. He's probably watching this right now. He knows who he is. He used to always talk about, oh, that's my cousin. That's my cousin. I'm like, dog, you look nothing like Betty D. Like, I don't see where that is. But Betty, all jokes aside, you know, we wanted to, as part of the Bomba Live community, a big message that we have here is healing and unity in 2022. And what we wanted to do in this Conquering Trauma edition of Bomba Live, to give people a flavor of the kind of empowerment they're going to feel on our show, what we're going to entertain, inspire, have some fun as well, is that we wanted to share with people your platform around conquering trauma. And I think that's really important for people to understand. So, Betty, before we get into sort of the pillars of what you see as kind of the real main ingredients for people to address conquering trauma in their lives and then thriving past that, why is this platform so important to you?
Well, for me, there is a lot of things that people don't realize. So as an artist, I kind of have lived my life pretty much in the public eye, right? In front of audiences. It's difficult for people. I'm a very private person. I always have been, about my personal life, what I've gone through. But I think it's very easy for people to see you on the stage, and they see you on, you know, in pictures, on Instagram, on social media, and they see this very happy person, this very positive, you know, like I said, social media is very fake sometimes, right? But for me, they don't realize that we actually go through trauma. We go through heartbreak and heartache and pain, same as we go through the joy that we have. And for me, we have all experienced trauma. How we deal with that trauma is the most important factor on whether you're going to conquer it or continue to free fall into the trauma. And I've had some trauma in my life, and you know, and I'm here to talk about some of the things that we've experienced so that people know that they're not alone in conquering that.
That's right. And it's so empowering for us to have someone that we've admired for so long to share that message and to share of yourself. It's very powerful, and it's going to empower a lot of people here as part of the Bomba Live journey. I wanted to start, Betty, because you've got three sort of pillars of your message that you're going to share in our ongoing series here on Bomba Live. And when we were talking about this in our pre-meeting, production meeting, I was actually pretty surprised what the first one was. It was actually kind of shocking to me. And I think it's important for us to grapple with as we talk about this issue of conquering trauma. So Betty D, what's the first step when people out there are trying to deal with things that have challenges they've happened in their life that they need to address to conquer trauma in their lives?
Well, you know what's really interesting? How you ever have something bad happen to you and then you're like, why is this happening to me? I'm a good person. I'm a good human. I do all the right things, you know, like one of the first pitfalls for me, I used to be the type of person that would try to figure out, why is this happening? You know, I'm a good person, I think. I'm trying to be a good human. The first pillar for me was to come to the realization that bad things sometimes happen to good people. Bad things sometimes just happen. And how you cope with how these bad things happened, how this trauma happened to you is something that is really important that we want to talk about.
So Betty, a lot of people I know are feeling what you're talking about and go through this kind of why me emotion.
Yeah.
Now there's a school of thought that sometimes we're taught that, well, you know, God only gives you something you can handle. So it's almost like you have the strength to deal with it. That's why you were given this challenge. But then that doesn't even feel fair. So people go back and forth with that. So how do you address that part of the dynamic?
Well, it's easy to kind of, you know, blame, you know, the universe, like whatever anyone believes in, God, the universe, Buddha, but whatever your faith is or your spirituality. Yeah, things happen for a reason, but it is up to us to make the choice on the why. We actually are in full control of the why. You know, like why can't? If you really look at it and take away what you got from it, whatever that would be, whatever the lesson is, whatever the meaning behind it is, whatever you do after, you know, after the trauma is also really, really important, right? And yeah, saying why me, it's too broad. It just will open up so many ideas and sentiments and feelings. It's really kind of, I would break it down and just kind of figure out the why, but really kind of find the answer.
And I've been lucky. I can't say that I've gone through, you know, relative things. It's all relative, right? But where it impacts me is the feelings around guilt. Because I go through the emotions around why haven't certain things happened to me and why do my friends go through these things. Christina is going to join us in a second.
Yes.
We all just, you know, we've had in Philadelphia, a few of our good close friends have had their young teenage, college age kids get killed in crossfire and local violence. And it's like, I feel guilty for that. Like, why did they have to go through that? These wonderful people. So
Yeah.
how does guilt fit into the picture in how you help people cope with trauma?
Well, that is such a common feeling. It's something that, especially if you haven't experienced, but I think we all experience trauma in some way or other. Right. When we're young, you know, and it just really is about your soul and what your heart is telling you and what we really believe in and what like I said, like the messages. We can feel guilty about it, but there's really no need to feel guilty about it. There's something to be said about having empathy and compassion, right? For someone, and Christina's gonna come out here and we're gonna talk about this. Yes, we look at people and say, why would that happen to an individual? It's such a horrible thing, or it's, you know, it's such a, you know, but we can't be self-deprecating in that part. We kind of have to really look at it at face value and just really deal with the trauma. And we'll get into that about coping mechanisms, right? Like what we do, how we do it. But guilt is definitely a coping mechanism, right? Hands down. And it's not an uncommon thing to feel, but it's how you deal.
What made you start doing these videos?
Thank you, Mommy. I started making the videos in the middle of the pandemic. Honestly, it was, I was bored at home like everybody else, en casa haciendo nada, y yo no veo mucha televisión. Puse mi teléfono, yo dije, me voy a grabar. Entonces yo soy maquillista profesional y yo estaba poniendo todos mis videos de cocina in my stories of my makeup page. Y bien rápido, I was like, wait a minute, is my makeup page about to turn into a cooking page? That's not what I was trying to do. Wait a second. So I opened Cooking con Omi on Instagram, but you know, I kind of moved over to TikTok, and then TikTok became really fun. And then it just kind of went crazy on TikTok. Every week it seemed like I was growing 10,000 followers, and I kept telling my husband, I'm like, babe, what? I think I'm about to reach 20. Oh, I think I'm about to reach 50. And it was continually growing, and it was just me wanting to have fun. But like Ivelisa, I found purpose in it when people would tell me the stories of what my cooking was doing for them. And I love to cook. I grew up in a household full of women. I have 5 aunts who I grew up around, my grandmother, who's an amazing cook, my mom, and that's all I saw. And that same energy that I have is literally what I grew up around in Puerto Rico. So that's my motivation. It's my inspiration.
Well, let's get into that. So the other second pillar of your platform on conquering trauma is around how do we develop those tools. So tell us, where do we begin to develop those tools for coping?
It's really looking at the trauma that you face. One of the things, so the second one that we always talk about this, right, is not everyone has the same coping mechanisms to deal with trauma. We're not equipped with that. You know, you could see for the two of us, we can have experienced the same exact trauma, have been in the same room, experienced, you know, like the pandemic is a very good indicator of this, right? Millions of people have experienced it, but every single person has reacted to it very differently. And so getting the coping, and that's the key here, the coping mechanisms on how to deal with trauma. It's different for each person. For me, there's no shame in actually speaking with someone, going out to get some help, reaching out, and just acknowledging that you're going through something is one of the biggest steps that you can take. Just by saying, this is how I feel, or this is what I am going through. That's like 10 strides compared to like the one stride of you kind of keeping it in your head. And that's the most important part. Really speaking it out loud, acknowledging it to yourself first. That's probably one of the first steps in coping and actually dealing with trauma, is admitting it to yourself. And we're gonna have my girl Christina come on, we're gonna touch on that too, because admitting that there's something going on within ourselves, talk about guilt, there's pride that gets in the way, ego, embarrassment, shame. There's so many emotions involved in that, but it's definitely one of them. We could go on.
And we're going to talk about it here on Bomba Live because, first of all, y'all need to subscribe to this YouTube show because it's going to change your life. I'm going to tell you that right now. And we're going to have a lot of fun, and there's going to be lots of different elements to Bomba Live, but this is going to be, this particular platform is really going to be something special. And wow, you just talked about shame. How many of us have shame around? I mean, I got shame for relatives that did stuff in the 90s. I mean, I had nothing to do with it. I was a little kid. So there's so much shame in our families that we, and because we don't talk about it. That's where it festers, and it's something we have to deal with.
The trauma that we suffer does not define who we are. We have the power to overcome it. We are not defined by the trauma that we suffer.
That's right.
Right? No matter, they say, oh, you are a product of your environment. I don't know how to love because I have been heartbroken. I don't know how to not abuse because I've been abused. We actually have the power to stop that. We're in complete control. And so for me, my whole life, I have fought to make sure that the trauma that I suffered did not define who I was, did not determine how I treated people or how I let people treat me. So we can get that message out to, 2, 3 people, I would feel satisfied. Because that is one of the most important factors, is that it doesn't define who you are. You can be whoever you want to be. You can treat others the way you want to be treated, and that's the most important part, is that we are in complete control, even though we sometimes may not feel like we are, but we definitely are.
I tell you, that's why you have to, this is the talk show you've been waiting for your whole life. After this break, Betty and I will be joined by our co-host and the founder of Love Shouldn't Hurt, Christina Vega, to continue the conversation about how we conquered trauma in 2022. Let's watch this quick break with some of the highlights of previous Bomba Live episodes, including some of the favorite moments from Betty D and other incredible celebrities we've had on earlier shows. We'll be right back here at Bomba Live, the show you've been waiting for your entire life.
My bad. She messed my hide up, right? Because I was high on marijuana. So I was like, she just messed my hide up. And I just felt that every word that came out of her mouth, she was directing it at me. So when she was done, I asked her like, yo, what can I do? I'm doing life. I'm from New York, and she said, you could be my source, which I didn't even understand what source meant at the time. But then she said, you could be the voice for the voiceless. And that's what clicked.
So Maria,
that's what got me interested. And that's what ultimately made me change my way of thinking in my life.
Thing is that freestyle was everything to me. My cousin Guido, who still lives in the Bronx, was the first one to introduce me and sneak me into the Copacabana. So it's kind of
kidding.
So
Look who was
yeah, I mean,
is that case?
I was 13.
So
Rosa, it was the 80s.
Tell us about the Copa in the 80s.
No, actually, all I remember was dancing and always getting in trouble for breaking curfew, It's just what it is.
Welcome back to Bomba Live, the talk show you have waited for your whole life. Don't forget to subscribe to Bomba Live on YouTube and just listen to our message and get involved in the conversation. It will change your life. Now, we are so proud to have our fearless hermana join us. Welcome back, Christina Vega, to Bomba Live.
Bomba. Now, Betty, we're going to get into some very serious stuff with and very impactful work that Christina and Betty, you all have done, and we've supported Christina with Love Shouldn't Hurt. It's very important, but we can't let the moment pass about that epic clip we just saw on the first Bomba Live ever. You had how many, I can't even think of all the star power in that clip. The moment that K7 photobombed Bomba Live. Christina.
We still talk about
I mean, it's just harken back. First of all, it was enough of a bucket list moment to have Betty D on the show. But then for K7 to pop in, talk to me, Christina.
My nerves were rattled. I was like a little girl back in high school. When he popped up on the screen, it's like your crush just like pops up. Like, you're in school, you're walking through the hall and you like see the guy that you've always thought about. I used to watch his videos when I was a kid and I used to be like, he's so adorable. And then he popped up on the screen and I'm like, I'm on the same screen as him. It was crazy.
And of
course the cameras caught.
And I told this to Kay last year. I said, I wanted George Lamont's hair, but everything else I wanted to be K7. There's no question about it. Betty, when you actually saved the clip, because what was part of going on, me and Christina are freaking out so much about you and K7 being on the show, we sort of cut the legendary civil rights activist, Dr. Rosa Clemente, from speaking. And so, Betty, how was that moment sort of saving the moment so that Rosa could talk about sneaking into clubs in the 80s?
Right. It was such a surreal moment because I had seen your reaction, which made me laugh, right? But then we were talking to Rosa this amazing woman in a very serious conversation. I'm like, hello, can we talk about some important things here?
And I'm freaking out.
They're still freaking out. And then we just got the conversation had turned so quickly from something serious to, I used to sneak into the clubs when I was a teenager. I'm like, how is all this happening? Hello, let's focus.
Well, that was the other part of the equation. So Dr. Rosa Clemente, people don't know, and we encourage you to follow her on social media. And
Yes.
we're going to have her on Bomba Live very soon again. Is one of the nation's leading, particularly Afro-Latina activists, to sort of bridge the gap between Black and Latino civil rights work and activism. She's an amazing leader. Mm-hmm. We bring her on the show to talk about, at that time, this
activism.
is just months after, the George Floyd incident. We really dedicated the show around, raising awareness around anti-Blackness in the Latino community. And all she wants to do is talk about freestyle because her homegirl, Betty's on the show.
Yeah.
So that was a great fangirl
It
moment.
was great.
as well.
And it's really funny because I'm like, hello, can we get back on topic?
Speaking of getting back on topic, I know,
Here
Betty,
we
you've got
are.
some very important questions you have for Christina.
So I've been so looking forward to speaking with you, Christina, as the founder of Love Shouldn't Hurt. You have dedicated your life to support domestic violence survivors. Now, how does your conversation about conquering trauma relate to your work at Love Shouldn't Hurt?
It's an everyday, it's a part of my life. Not only am I the founder, but I'm a survivor of 6 years of domestic violence that nearly took my life. So trauma is something that is still very apparent in my life, not only with myself, but with the work that I do every day, dealing with women and men who call me and contact me and are going through the motions. I deal with survivors, but I also deal with very today, present day victims who are still dealing with it and who are avidly trying to escape their situations and leave and be relocated. So it is an every single day part of my life. From phone calls to emails to text messages, sometimes my concentration is so off on the regular day-to-day because I have just the weight of this trauma, different people calling me and sending me videos and photos, and it's a huge, huge weight on me every day. But it's something that I've dedicated myself to, and I'm just completing this mission, for all the people who just can't be that voice.
Wow. So would you mind sharing with us a lesson that you have learned about advising domestic violence survivors, about trauma that all of us can benefit from, all of us out here?
I was listening to you guys in the first part of the show and speaking about trauma and how it doesn't define you as a person, which is absolutely correct. Trauma does not define you as a person. That is not who you are for the rest of your life. But it's something that I remind all of, my survivors who say, I'm doing great and I'm wonderful, is to just be very present in the fact that trauma, it does not define you, but it is a part of your life. And you will have triggers. They will come. That is to be expected. People believe that once they've survived these situations and they've moved on from it, that's it. I no longer feel anything. I'll never know. But, they have to remember that trauma is something that, it can be something that lasts your whole lifetime. It doesn't define you because you can be an amazing person. You can, we've all superseded it. I call myself a hero, because I've gotten past it and I feel like, wow, I'm a hero. I've gotten past it. But there are triggers, and it's the way that we deal with those triggers. There's parts of my life, and when I have my show and when I do different showings of our documentary, I always tell people that this organization has allowed me to heal a lot from the trauma that I've dealt with. But in doing so, I have had triggers by listening to other people's stories and listening to, just people's modes of survival and how different it was from mine. But it has truly helped me, and it's been a benefit. And, for people who are watching, I want them to know that, trauma is not going to be something that you're going to just fester in forever, and I'm just this victim, and I'm going to always be hurt and in pain. But that trauma can also give you, strength,
Yes.
to know that, wow, I dealt with such an impactful thing in my life, but look where I'm at, Triggers happen, I have moments myself where, noises outside, or if someone's too close to me in the
When
same
you least
vicinity.
expect it, right?
Absolutely. Students will come to talk to me, and I'm just like, I need space. Yeah. But I'm able to know that now, years later, 15 years later after the fact, I know what my space is, and I know what triggers me.
Christina, you having the strength to speak about your story and thriving in survival. And then there's another thing to develop an organization and help survivors. And so what is building this movement, and it's a movement. I mean, subscribe to Love Shouldn't Hurt. It's a wonderful talk show in its own right, and the work they're doing. We're going to talk in a second about where you can support her organization on May 14th. But what is this leadership role that you've taken in this movement that you built taught you about yourself?
That I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. Absolutely. I think that people do not know the background behind it. They just see I'm the forefront and I'm the face. And I hope I don't get emotional, but this organization.
Bomba Live.
And
it
that's
is Bomba
okay.
Live.
It's okay.
It's real. It's real. For real.
This organization began because a friend of mine lost her life at the hands of her husband in August of 2018. So it's absolutely taught me that I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was. I never thought I'd be able to speak about that incident again without crying. I never thought that I'd be able to reflect on that day without being emotional. And it's given me such a power. You know, people say, but she's gone. She is gone. Mm-hmm. She was a phenomenal human. I get emotional. But it was the driving force. And through her death, we have been able to make a voice with Love Shouldn't Hurt and helping survivors.
Betty, I know that people have, your music and your message has inspired people to thrive past abuse. Mm-hmm. And so from the artist perspective and now the influencer perspective, how have you seen your message and your music help people heal?
I can't tell you the many messages that I have received, whether, you know, it's fans coming up to me during shows, after shows, send me messages about how, you know, our music got them through the worst times of their life. They don't have to get into it. They don't have to tell me what they suffered through. You can tell. You can tell from just speaking with someone and the message that they're giving you. But that our music is so impactful in that way. That's what opens up my heart. That's what opens up my soul to be able to give back even just a little bit in helping them for the love that they have and the way that our music has inspired them. It's something that's awe-inspiring and very, very humbling.
That's why y'all have to subscribe to Bomba Live. This show's going to change your lives, and it's truly been the show you've been waiting for your whole life. Christina, you have an event coming up May 14th.
I do.
So let people know about it and how we can support Love Shouldn't Hurt.
Absolutely. So we have our annual 5K Love Run. If you were in the Philadelphia area, we will be at the Edison High School track. This is our second run. And it is to celebrate all of those who are survivors and also honor all of those who we have lost. So we'll be all around the track will be photos of loved ones we have lost due to domestic violence. All of our funds go right back out into our victims. When victims need help with relocation, when they need food, when they need somewhere to stay, all of the funds that we get from our run and our gala and all of the different activities go right back into our survivors. So on May 14th, we will be at the Edison track with our second Love Run.
Even if you live in Philly, Cash App and Venmo works everywhere.
Yes.
So you need to support Love Shouldn't Hurt.
Yes.
And just check out all her social media platforms, the way you can support. Betty, a final thought here on this Conquering Trauma, the first of many great conversations here on Bomba Live.
Well, I have to say thank you so much for Christina to come on and shed some light and at least talk briefly about it. Something that she did say that probably was one of the most important things, even just above what we've talked about, is that trauma does not define us, right? We can talk about that, but she said one of the most important things that kind of hit home for me is that it is a part of us. It is a part of who you are. It's part of your past, however you want to approach it, but it will always be there. It will always kind of belong to you. It just doesn't define you, and I thought that was so, so important, and thank you so much for sharing that. Like we said, conquering trauma is exactly that. It's conquering it, and we are here.
That's right. Thank you for joining Bomba Live. The inspiration never stops.